Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out. So today I'm going to cover the power of music sampling and giving you guys a little bit of how I see music and how most producers see music. Most people take music sampling or sampling music as just taking a piece of an existing work, taking about 30 seconds of it, looping it, putting drums on it, and that's it. But it's much more than that. It dates back to when the first producers came about, such as African Bambaataa, and the first person to actually go into sampling were DJs, who first started off with sampling breakbeats. So they didn't have all the software that we have today. So the way they did it was they had two vinyls and they would physically take a pen and etch in where they wanted the samples to be. So they sampled breakbeats from songs, from psychedelic songs as such, and then they would have an MC rap over those. So that was the first step. So the people after them, the people who pioneered for me to be able to do what I can do today, took it to the next step. They were able to take such vinyls, be able to sample them through audio mixers, and through those audio mixers, put it through beat machines such as the MPD-24, the MPC Renaissance, and such. So those people took it to the next step. People such as Alchemist, Black Milk, DJ Payne 1, Jake 1, and one of the people we're gonna look into is Kanye and how he took it to the next step. The way Kanye samples music is in a phenomenal way, in where I see people call him a genius, because he can sample about 3 to 4 different tracks and they sound so cohesive and together as one. Kanye took sampling to the next step where the chipmunk vocal was the thing that people started, taking light into. Kanye took sampling as not just seeing samples, he saw them as instruments, building instruments, creating his own instruments out of them. He saw them on a sonic level, which was what pushed him to the front of hip hop. Honestly, Kanye was able to take the human voice and use that as an instrument. He was able to take a track, deconstruct it, and build his own standalone track from it. And from that opened my eyes to sampling. Because when I first started sampling, I only took 30 seconds. I would loop it, and I called it a day. But for me, I sat back and I looked at what he's done and how he was able to do it, and I thought to myself, why can't I be able to do that? Why can't I be able to take it to the next step? Why can't I be able to take a track, put it to the bare bones, and create my own instruments out of it, create my own, my own tangible piece from this, instead of just saying, taking 5 seconds out from it. So we're gonna look at one example that Kanye has did, one of my favorite tracks that he did for Twister, Overnight Celebrity. So I'm gonna give you guys a preview of it. So with that, instantly, you're hearing the high-pitched vocals, you're hearing the strings. All of that came from this sample itself. Girl, you know I love you. So with Kanye being able to do that, it opened a lot of doors. It opened a new way people saw sampling. It wasn't just, oh, let me just sample 30 minutes of it. So now we're gonna look into one of my favorite projects that I did. It's quite interesting in how I did it. So the name of the track is Dawn, and I'm gonna give you guys a little quick preview of it.
Light is fading now, I cannot read. My brain is shining every day, every morning. My force is weak, my ear is smiling every night, and it's running, rolling,
So that's the sample. That's what I came from. So this is the original sample.
The light is fading now.
So when I heard the original sample, it's like I felt so much emotion from the sample itself. I didn't see it as a sample. I saw it as something I could be able to put some kind of feeling behind. I heard so many different instruments from it. I heard strings I could recreate from it. I heard a choir I can make from it. I heard my own singer, because as a standalone producer, I don't have a singer next to me 24/7. So with that, this was my challenge to be able to reconstruct a whole new beat straight from an individual standpoint, just from one sample itself. So my first step was with this. So this is the driving melody of it right there. And all I did was flip it, put a little bit of EQ on it through the VST itself. I put a low pass ×3, and then I cut out what frequencies I did not want. I wanted to create my own instrument. This is an instrument that I think most people can be able to piece together. You would think, oh, this is a flute, this is a clarinet, this is that. And I was able to create that myself. So I don't know how to play the flute, but I was able to create something close to it. So that made me want to go the next step farther with, okay, what else can I do? I want to have a singer on this, but I don't have a singer with me. So I said, hey, why not create my own singer?
Goal is running on the goal is running on the goal.
And with that, it gave it more, of piecing it together, pulling it all together, bringing it as one. So I was able to accomplish two things Kanye was able to do: deconstruct a track, recreate your own instruments, and be able to work with the human voice. Because this is the end piece. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a technical standpoint. So bear with me. I'm gonna try to explain the best I can so you guys don't get, confused about what I'm doing. So this is what it sounds like without any effects on it. Like most people would hear it and say, oh, that sounds pretty good, that sounds pretty well. Then I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not really achieving what I want to achieve music sampling wise. It can be taken to the next step. I can push it to the next step. And that was my one thing with this beat. I wanted to push it to the next step. I wanted to see what is something nobody else is doing. What is something nobody has done for my generation? What is something I can be able to, bring into this generation? How can I be the new Kanye? How can I be the new person to change how music is being made, to change how sampling is being done? So with that, I put a reverb on it. So this way, it's tricking your ears, because when you're listening to it with the reverb on it, whatever notes get cut off short, the reverb kind of acts as the backup to it, acts as the delay. So it could be cut short, and then I can put on about a 30 millisecond delay on it. And just that little thing right there can trick your ear into thinking it's a lot more fuller than it is. It might be another person singing in the background, and it just adds on to it. And then next, I slowed it down a little bit to give it that.
Goal is running on the goal is running on the goal.
And then piecing that all together, it's already not even sounding like the original. It's sounding like something totally different. You wouldn't think. But at the same time, I still kept the same concept of the original track itself. The original track had a certain mood, had a certain vibe. It had a vibe of heartbreak, a vibe of, just feeling, like actual feelings in it. And most samples nowadays can't do that. Most samples nowadays can't retain the feeling from the original track. So the fact that I'm able to hit play and you can take away something from it, take away, some tangible emotion to it, get connected to it. So I feel like I accomplished something that the predecessors before me were able to do. I accomplished something that Kanye was able to do. With his samples, he can be able to put emotions into them. He can be able to put feeling. He can be able to put that human feeling behind it. It doesn't feel so automated by a computer. It doesn't feel like it's so lossless. It doesn't feel like somebody just sat back and hit a whole bunch of buttons. And so with that, this is the power of sampling, to be able to take somebody else's work, deconstruct it, and be able to piece together something that can be able to move you in a way that you wouldn't think is possible. And then when we go a little bit farther down into adding the drums onto it, that's another step people overlook with sampling. They think you have the right sampling, that's about it, you're done, you're finished. But no, it's not just that. Your drums are also your instruments. Coming from a Nigerian background, we have a lot of drums in our traditional music. Then growing up in the DMV, listening to go-go music, it's also part of me too. So the drums play a key element to what I do, and that adds on to sampling. If you can have the best sample, but if you don't have the right thing to complement it, it falls apart. It's like having a cake that tastes so amazing, but you put the wrong frosting on it, it could ruin it. Or if you have this amazing paper done and you put the wrong title and it kind of falls short. Or you have this amazing painting that you've painted and one little mistake can, just ruin it. So that's how it is with the drums. If your drums are not cohesive, if your drums are not right, if your drums are not proper, it could really ruin the track itself. But let me go into the drums a little bit. So with this beat, the 808s are the driving factor of it. And then you hear the sporadic, hi-hats, snares, open hi-hats and whatnot. I have a little bit of background in playing drums, so I know how it should sound to give that human element to it that a lot of people miss out. And then when you put it all together, you're able to get something that people can connect to. Honestly, something people can actually connect to on a different level. The time out and seeing it on a sonic level and seeing it as a deconstruction of someone else's work and seeing it as appreciation of such artists that we're sampling. Thank you.